What's going on, guys? It's Kirk with LaneFlix Media. Sorry it's taken forever for me to do another video. I just started a new job and I work 60 plus hours a week, so I have way less time. But I'm hoping to get into some kind of rhythm so I can start doing videos regularly again. Anyway, I appreciate you guys coming back and watching again. This is going to be a request from Reel of Thieves for the series Loki on Disney Plus about the Marvel Comics character / Norse god. I'm going to be doing all 6 parts, so this is going to be full spoilers for the whole series. Just wanted to be upfront about that. Episode 1 is titled Glorious Purpose, which, if you're a Marvel geek, comic book geek like I am, you'll remember that in Avengers he said that. That was kind of his whole phrase, was Glorious Purpose and all this stuff. I think he may have even said it in the first Thor movie, I don't remember. But the first episode is a really good setup, I think, to what the show is all about, which is... The show is about Loki, of course, but I think it's also about recontextualizing him as a character, which was a bold move for a Marvel series. I wasn't expecting that. But we really started off with Owen Wilson and Gugu Mbatha-Raw, who are 2 really great choices for the characters they play. Loki is a character I've never really cared about, but seeing him put in his place in a way really kind of made me appreciate and relate to him. I think Hiddleston really makes me like Loki again in this series because he uses this charm that you haven't seen before with this character, and I think people who are fans of the character will enjoy it. I'm just saying I've never really given a crap about Loki, but I actually like this. I liked him in this series. I thought he was a good protagonist. I don't hate to admit it, because if someone's a good actor, admit they're a good actor, but I'm not a big fan of Loki. I'm not a big fan of Tom Hiddleston, but in this series I think he did a great job of playing this character and really making everyone just like him again, so that was cool. The premise of the TVA, the idea that there's a sacred timeline and the Avengers upheld it, but then Loki fractured it, is really funny, but it's also indicative of the fact that he is the god of mischief. Episode 1 I would give a 7.7 out of 10. So we're going to move on to episode 2. Episode 2 is called The Variant. Fun to have Loki as part of the action, helping out the good guys for a change. Renslayer and Mobius converse and even argue a bit over Loki's fate, and let's face it, something is up with Mobius. Already in the second episode, we see the show is writing the Guardians vibe of vibrant various colors and solid green screen environments. They don't use green screen in a way to just like, screw it, let's just, they also use a lot of practical environment stuff to kind of meld the 2 things together, and it looks really good, especially for a series. With a lot of the Marvel shows, they kind of... The effects in WandaVision were like back and forth. Sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're iffy. I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier looked really good. Hawkeye looked good. I don't remember there being any super janky effects. There were more janky effects in Black Widow than there were in most of the Marvel series, which is crazy. But yeah, one of the cool things I think sci-fi fans who don't give a crap about Marvel will just appreciate about this show is it's not scared of showing these really cool, different style environments. If you're a fan of the Guardians movies and you like the landscapes and you really dig like the vistas that they go to, if you want to call them that, then you'd really like this show. You should check it out, and even just watching it for the visuals, I think people who like sci-fi will appreciate that. Loki also finds out some secrets that the TVA have been keeping under wraps and discovers that the Timekeepers are the ones who created the TVA and their way of life. Fun ending with Loki and Lady Loki running away together at the end. I gave that one a 7.4 out of 10. Episode 3 is Lamentis. One of the more fun episodes. Loki and who we come to know as Sylvie begin to work together at the end of a moon's life, about to be crushed by a meteor. Sylvie reveals to Loki that the people who work at the TVA are variants taken from their respective timelines and lives. So whoever these people are that created the TVA really didn't create it. They just kind of plucked people and put him over here and brainwashed him and told him, you know, so not a good move. Not a very good look for the TVA right now. Could Mobius just be a coincidental guardian angel? I mean, could he really just be someone that loves Loki and like actually just wants to be his friend and help him out? I don't know. That seems too good to be true, but we'll get to it. As they head for a ship that could recharge the device they use to teleport them, that could also send them back, it is then destroyed by a falling meteorite. That ending, that was kind of like, oh crap. 7.5 out of 10. Episode 4, The Nexus Event. Feeling stranded and desperate, the two Lokis share a tender story of Sylvie's introduction to the TVA and a bit of her backstory. This leads to a romantic bond between them that branches off a whole new timeline, which the TVA then monitors immediately. Loki is locked in a time loop of Sif confronting and slapping and sometimes even kneeing and generally beating the crap out of him. This is a fun way to integrate characters that would otherwise be dead and impossible to appear. It's a parallel timeline for one, and two, it's a memory that happened to this alive Loki. Either way, it's fine. Mobius finds proof that although they have a friendship, Renslayer is lying about C20, who is this character that they are claiming has lost her mind, but really has started to remember who she really was. And then Sylvie later probes C20's mind for answers about what's going on. Really cool kind of like twist to a scene, because at first you think it's just two people hanging out, but then it ends up being Sylvie in the girl's mind. That was really, really well done. This is where the conspiracy and elevation of plot really kick in. And with such an insane concept for a series, I don't blame them for sinking us slowly into these waters, because it gets really insane and crazy. Hiddleston continues to be entertaining and quippy if you stayed for the post-credit scene, which of course I didn't, because Disney Plus brought up the next episode thing before it even started. You would have seen Loki surrounded by some variant Lokis. So we have boastful Loki, who is wielding what looks to be a parallel universe Mjolnir. It's gold, it's really badass. Classic Loki does this neat explaining. I love it. Richard Grant is amazing. He's always amazing. He's one of those actors. And Kid Loki, a younger, I'd venture to say more ballsy Loki, who claims to have killed his Thor. So that was kind of like, whoa, okay. And of course, Alligator Loki. And I gave that one an 8 out of 10. That was, I think, my favorite episode of the series. That and the next one are my two favorite. 4 and 5 are my two favorites. Episode 5 is Journey into Mystery. So, for the simps, no, Loki didn't die. Okay, he didn't die. He was sent to that place and he hung out with the other variant Lokis. Okay, he's not dead. People were flipping shit about that. Of course, how can he? I mean, it's the Loki show. That's why all you people are here. That's why all you simps for Loki are here. Anyway, this episode title is a big old, not so subtle reference to the old 60s comic series, which started as more of an EC Comics creep show type series, actually. It's very interesting if you look up Journey into Mystery and you kind of like check it out. Originally, it started as like a horror noir type, like pulpy comic book that was way less superhero. It was more detective, monster related. And in this series, later on, when it became more Marvel-fied, a little more superhero-y, first introduced Thor, Loki, and Heimdall into the Marvel Comics universe. So that's pretty awesome. It's cool they made reference to that in the Loki show. A really cool side note about Journey into Mystery, too, just like a by-the-way type thing. They essentially had the prototypes for a lot of like really well-known characters now. Such as Spider-Man, the Incredible Hulk, and even the X-Men, and all in the late 50s. So we're talking 5 to 8 years before any of these guys were actually introduced. So that's really cool. It's very interesting to see how they started and then like, no, that's not going to be that. It's actually going to be a superhero. Because, I mean, one of the guys is like a Spider-Man hybrid. So, like, that was really insane. And the Hulk was, he looked more like Clayface from Batman than he did the Hulk, so that was crazy. Renslayer explains to Sylvie that Loki did not die, but was sent to the void. She means literally the end of time. After attempting to process this, Sylvie decides to go into this void and try and find Loki. After succumbing to the TVA, she is to stand trial, aka be murdered Judge Dredd style, in a court of jesters. She breaks free and ends up pruning herself to try and find Loki. Another side note, I'm actually doing Dredd next, so it's really funny. I subconsciously made a Judge Dredd reference in this. After a bit of a struggle, she meets up with Mobius and is on her way back into a storm that forms near the void she ended up near. The variant Lokis inform Loki that the storm/gaseous being ravaging the void space is Alioth, destroyer of things left in the void. So it's just insane. That's another really cool effect that I thought they did pretty well. Was this it was a conscious storm. So it was like a storm, but it had agency, and it would go around and kill anything that's left over in the void. So literally just rendering it a void. The variants rendezvous with Mobius and Sylvie, then Mobius returns via Tempad. The variant Lokis continue their objection to survive. So they depart from the group, with classic Loki giving a longing last look at Loki and Sylvie while they try to deal with Alioth. After a moment of discussion, Sylvie and Loki enact a plan. Sylvie will try to enchant while Loki tries to distract. They ultimately fail, and classic Loki steps in. Of course, in one of the most predictable moments in MCU history, classic Loki sacrifices himself, and of course, just before the moment that Sylvie can break into the gas being's mind and take control over it. So this is something where I call just complete and plain-faced bullshit, because this was a character that they built up, and they actually gave him some backstory. They got a real actor to play him, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna die. Sorry, dude. I know you're the Loki from Norse mythology and all. You're the real Loki. You're what he should be, but yeah, you're dead." So that was just a cheap move, in my opinion. It was a cheap move to try to tear jerk and to also try and make the series feel like it really meant something. And it was already really interesting with the ideas that it had already put forth. So I don't know. I didn't like it. I thought that was the shittiest moment in the whole series. I thought it was terrible. That being said, I loved classic Loki, and I still loved this episode, which was very weird because nothing else was that big of a hiccup for me before this episode. So very weird. Sylvie instructs Alioth to show them the way through the void into a sanctuary somewhere after the void. I really dig the colors and a lot of the little Easter egg references throughout. We have a lot in this episode as the various Lokis traverse the void. I gave this one an 8 out of 10 as well. It would have been more had it not been for the predictable ass ending of classic Loki. It was terrible. Episode 6, the last episode, is titled For All Time, Always. Miss Minutes gives Renslayer some info. We later learn this is her own personal mission to find what she calls free will. Showing some fellow TVA guards a former Renslayer who was a school administrator, B-15, who is a TVA guard who is kind of awoken to what is going on in the TVA, and I think Mobius and Loki and Sylvie have all given her information to kind of break free and free her mind a little bit. He Who Remains explains to Loki and Sylvie that he has prevented the sacred timeline from being fractured through stopping an inter-universal war between variants of himself. I really love Jonathan Majors as He Who Remains, aka Kang the Conqueror, who they don't make a big deal out of until I think he says his name. But it'll be really cool to see if they bring him back as a comic accurate Kang the Conqueror and looking all alien because that would be really cool. It's actually very interesting. If you look into Kang the Conqueror, he's supposedly some faraway parallel universe version of Franklin Richards from the Fantastic Four. So I don't know how they're going to tie that in, if that's going to tie in at all. That'd be really interesting. Yeah. It's gonna be really cool. I again, they got a real actor to play this villain, and then he was a lot of exposition, and he was he had some flavor to him, but he wasn't the soul or the focus, and I don't know. To me, it's they're kind of playing the safe game a little bit, and I was expecting Loki to get a little more abstract, a little more fruity, a little more experimental, I guess is the right word. He has a charisma and a way of carrying himself that I don't remember seeing in a Marvel antagonist before. Getting tired of holding this sacred timeline together, Kang offers Loki and Sylvie a choice. Either kill him and risk the wars breaking through to our universe, wreaking havoc on the timeline and existence forever, or take management of the timeline for him, relieving him of his duty. Sylvie, of course, being the more aggressive and combative of the two, wants to kill him, but Loki protests, then they kiss. This was another cliche and semi-ridiculous moment where Loki is fooled, like, come on, you're Loki. She's Loki. Get with the program. Sylvie then sends Loki back to the TVA to stay herself and kill Kang. Kang's worst predictions come true as the timelines and parallel universes begin to converge and destroy themselves. Upon Loki's return, he attempts to warn Mobius and B-15 about the variants of Kang's that could be potentially on the way, only to see they don't recognize him. In the space of Kang's statue, a variant's form in stone. So, 7.6 out of 10. So, I averaged out all my ratings for each episode and I kind of put it all together. The total was 7.7 out of 10. I think I put 7.8 out of 10 on my review on Instagram, whatever. It's a fun and certainly mostly different franchise from previous Marvel history. Hiddleston did a nice job of winning over non-Loki fans as well, as I believe pleasing Loki fans, so that worked well. I wasn't the biggest fan of Sylvie, but I did like B-15 as well as Mobius, but I really hated Renslayer. So Gugu Mbatha-Raw did a really great job as the villain. Really good actress. I don't remember what I've seen her in before, but she's good. She always brings another dimension to it that you weren't expecting, so that's cool. Good actress. I think Owen Wilson deserves an Oscar for just acting like Owen Wilson among all this weird shit. It's crazy that he's still Owen Wilson. Yeah, I thought that was one of the best performances because, like, he's not trying to be anybody. He's not. He's just Owen Wilson in the Marvel Universe. And I really enjoyed a lot of the music, definitely the scenery, and absolutely the references. Some of my favorite references, actually, I wrote down here. The Thanos Copter. First appearance was Spidey Super Stories number 39 from December of 1978. When Tom Hiddleston improv'd the another line when he throws down the glass, and that's totally a reference to, I mean, I'm sure most people know, it's totally a reference to the first Thor film when Thor does that, and Hiddleston, like I said, improv'd that line, so that was pretty cool. Cool little quick reference there. The first shot of the Loki variants and the shot back to Loki is reminiscent of the moment when the Avengers have Loki down and Hawkeye aims his arrow straight at Loki's face, so good stuff there, really cool. I didn't even pick up on that until after I kind of read about it, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, that's exactly, because they're kind of like, they're circled around a little bit, and then he's down on the ground, and it's in the same framing and everything. It was pretty cool. It's not Marvel's best, but it's certainly worth watching for anyone that enjoys action, really good story, charming acting, cool visual effects, science fiction, fantasy, or just simply Marvel movies. If you're a Marvel fan, check this out. I had a lot of fun watching it. I watched a lot of it with my family, so we're all Marvel nuts. We love comic book stuff, so it was good. They watched it before me because, like I said, I'm not into Loki. I don't think I would have watched this if Reel of Thieves hadn't requested it, so thank you again, Reel of Thieves, for requesting this. I had a lot of fun watching it and talking about it. I want to know what you guys think too, so comment your thoughts and tell me what you think of the show and what's the next show that you're really excited about. And my next video is going to be Dread, and then I'm going to try to start, like I said, once a week, once every 2 weeks, start putting another video up. So appreciate you guys sticking with me. I haven't really lost a lot of followers in the time that I haven't put up stuff, so I really appreciate you guys sticking around. I promise I'll make it worth it, and yeah, come back and see me next time, and you guys have a great day.